Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the master gathering here in Sheridan, Wyoming. I was asked and honored to be asked to demonstrate what I do for a living, which is predominantly make saddles. I began 23 years ago, and I got very fortunate when I come out of the Texas State Technical Institute in Texas. I had a chance to apprentice with a saddle maker in Canada by the name of Chuck Storms, who still has his saddle shop up there. And I still consider him to be one of the very best in the business, and I'm very grateful to have had a chance to have worked for him. While I was there, I made saddles one after the other, which is the kind of shop that I was seeking to work in, so I could work on saddles and not have to do repair work and bags and cases, etc. All I wanted to do was make saddles. While I was working there in that shop, Chuck began his own tree business, and because they had a tree shop in the saddle shop, I also got to learn how to make trees. In the evening, I began doing my own silver work. I always wanted to have a saddle shop where I done the trees, the saddles, as well as the silver. So I began doing silver work in the evenings, and I'd done that for about 5 years, working on silver every night. After about a year of practicing, I started making bits and spurs so that I could make some extra money, so to speak. In the evenings when the saddle shop was shut down, I would work on silver bits and spurs. Like everybody, I started with the very simplest of iron work, doing snaffle bits, etc. And after about a year, I decided I wanted to make more California-style rodeo, or not rodeo, but ranch equipment. So I began making the spade bits, inlaid, overlaid, doing a lot of gold work on it. I quit taking orders and started doing just whatever I wanted to. And I could do that because I had a regular day job. And today, I have my own saddle shop, and it's a strictly custom saddle shop. I have my own tree shop set up right beside my saddle shop. All the silver that I put on the saddles that I make the silver as well. Whatever dyes are needed to form the silver, then we make those dyes right in the shop. And my business is going very well, fortunately. We have approximately a 6-year waiting list for people wanting to get in to order one of our custom saddles. Because the waiting list has gotten longer than I wanted it, I started another little business called Watt Brothers Stock Saddles. And what that is a saddle that has no custom order parts to it at all. You just buy a nice using saddle, basket stamp, rough out, border stamp, fairly simple saddles on our trees, made of the same leather with the same workmanship, but my brother and one other fellow work on those saddles. On the Watt Brothers saddles, as well as my own, I got kind of tired of having to buy hardware that was crooked. The rivet holes were not lined up square to the center. I couldn't buy a flank buckle that was the kind of flank buckle I wanted to put on a $6,000 saddle. And all of the hardware to me looked like hell, so I decided I was going to make my own. I wanted my hardware to be distinctive, and I wanted it to enhance a $6,000 saddle. So we began to make our own hardware, and now we sell that hardware to other saddle makers, etc. Also, as a saddle maker, I got kind of tired of having to search out old saddle makers that are one step away from being dead, so I could talk to their widow and see if I could buy their tools. And you had to befriend a crotchety old saddle maker, which now I'm becoming one. And it was very difficult finding the kind of tools that every saddle maker needs to have, or at least those who aspire to be as good as they possibly can be. So we began a little company called Horseshoe Brand Tools, which now manufactures, I think, the most complete line of high-quality, handmade leather crafting tools I'll be like they are from Texas. I'll take in the whole damn world. The goal was to reproduce all the old tools made and used on the bench by the saddle makers, not the harness makers, but by saddle makers. And if they happen to work for a harness maker, that's fine. But I didn't specifically set out to reproduce any tools that would be used by the harness industry. The goal was not only to reproduce, but to make them look as good, make them work as good, and have the same aesthetic value hanging on the rack on your bench. After all, we craftsmen are supposed to take pride in the tools that we hang on our bench as well as the work that we produce with those tools. I'm very much of a believer in the sharing and exchange of knowledge. After all, that's how we all get better, and I don't think that the leather industry is going to survive, so to speak, if we remain closed-mouthed about what it is that we do and how we do it. I think the sharing of that knowledge is going to open up new doors and actually take what we now do as craft and put it into the art venue. And I think that's the beauty of a show like this one here in Sheridan, where you have a gathering of 15 or 16 people willing to share what it is they do every day and are not inhibited by any little secrets, so to speak, that keep them in business. I really believe the only thing that keeps me in business is the fact that we will do our best work each and every day. And I'm, just look forward every day to getting up to try to improve what it is I done yesterday. And that's, I think, the basics of good leather work and a good sound business principle for the average saddle maker. If they would just adopt that and proceed with that goal each and every day, I think that prosperity, so to speak, will come their way in the form of, more and more customers.